What happens when I die? Not in the existential sense, but more in the sense of what happens to my hard earned assets? How are they going to be distributed? Who's going to take care of my kids when I'm not there? And how will my kids manage the money that I leave them? How will they manage the wealth that I've worked so hard to leave them? And this doesn't just go for death, right? If I'm incapacitated, for example, who's going to have the instructions or who's going to have the authority to make decisions on my behalf? Stay tuned because in this video, I'm going to go over the essential estate planning documents that you and your family need to have. Hi, my name is Sid Misra and I'm a certified financial planner who is passionate about financial education. I believe that the more you understand the financial system, the more you can use it to your advantage. Now that goes for those just starting out in their financial journey, those who have been traveling for some time, and those who are nearing retirement. Now, the questions I asked in the beginning of this video are important to protecting your wealth and your loved ones, right? The wealth that you've built up and the people in your life that you care about. Now, estate planning is super important because it ties all these different parts of your finances together, and it allows you to have control of this from beyond the grave or even from a state of being incapacitated. Now, a lot of people think about estate planning as morbid, and I don't blame them. We're talking about death and what happens after that, but I like to view this as empowering. You get to decide how your hard-earned assets will be distributed. You get to decide who's going to benefit from the wealth that you've created and built. And that is actually very empowering. So I want you to look at estate planning from the perspective of it being empowering to your finances and not morbid. So what documents do we need to secure our future and our family and the wealth that we worked so hard to build up? Well, the first thing that we're going to have to look at are wills and trusts. So a will is a legal document that spells out your wishes and what you would like to see happen after death. So, for example, if you own assets and you have a will can tell the courts, it can tell the state and the government how you want your assets distributed, who you want them to go to, and how much those people or those organizations can get. Now, a trust is a little bit different because a trust is a legal entity that will control assets and the distribution of them. And trust can be great if you have kids and you don't want them to be left with all this money and when they turn 18 they have access to all of it. A trust can allow you to control how much money is given and at what time so that they're not, given all of this money at such a young age. It helps them manage that, and it helps give you the peace of mind that they're not going to blow through all of the hard-earned assets and wealth that you've created for them. A good estate plan is going to have both a will and a trust, and they're both going to be set up to help protect your loved ones and your assets. Now, there's also something called a living will, and what that gives is instructions if you're incapacitated or unable to give instructions on what kind of medical care you want for yourself. A living will is a directive that explains how you want certain things to be handled and what kind of procedures or treatments you want to be done to you. So if you're incapacitated, it can tell the doctors and medical staff and your family how you want certain things handled. Do you want a feeding tube? Do you want to be on life support? If there is a moment in time when that life support, you want that to be turned off, right? Those types of things can be put into a living will so that people know what your wishes are, even if you're incapacitated. And that living will can also have a power of attorney, which is a person that you can designate to make those decisions on your behalf. So you don't have to put everything into the living will. You can name someone as the healthcare power of attorney and give them the ability to make those decisions for you. Now, let's dive into that power of attorney because we covered it as a healthcare power of attorney. But a power of attorney is someone that you've given the power to act on your behalf. And court systems, whether it's a state or federal level, are going to acknowledge that and give that person the authority to act on your behalf, just as you've noted in that power of attorney. Now, it's important that you have a power of attorney, because if you don't, what may end up happening is the court system may decide the person that's going to be making these decisions for you. So you want to have that in place beforehand, so it's someone that you've selected and not someone selected by an outside party. And keep in mind, you don't have to just name family or friends powers of attorney. It could be trusted professionals like your CPA or estate planning lawyers or your financial advisors, for example. Those people can also be named as power of attorneys. It doesn't have to just be family and friends. So those are some of the important documents for estate planning purposes: wills, trusts, power of attorney. And I want to touch on one last thing, and that's your beneficiary designations. So your beneficiary is the person or organization that will receive your assets once you pass. And you can name a beneficiary in your will, you can name a beneficiary of your trust, and those are the people that will benefit from the wealth that you've built up. Now, it's important to keep these designations up to date. There are births that happen, there are deaths that happen, people get married or divorced. You want to make sure that these designations are up to date and they reflect your current wishes. If you've gotten divorced, you don't want to have an ex-spouse as the beneficiary on a policy and not have named your new spouse. That wouldn't go over too well. So you want to make sure that these are up to date. Now, one more important point to note for beneficiaries is on your retirement plans like your 401k or IRA, that beneficiary designation will supersede anything that's in a trust or a will. The court system, the law has to follow the beneficiary designated on those retirement accounts. So even if your will is up to date, if your beneficiary designation on those retirement accounts is not, it will still go to that person named there. So please make sure that once you're going through your estate planning documents, all of your beneficiaries are up to date and the people or the organizations that you want to see blessed with the wealth that you've created. So these are some of the documents that you're going to need to secure your legacy, to make sure that your hard-earned wealth is passed on to the people and organizations that you want to. And these are the things that you want to be putting in place to making sure that your assets and what you've built is not at the mercy of the court system. It's not at the mercy of some random third party that has no understanding of what your wishes are and how hard you've worked to build all this up. Make sure you have these documents in place. Make sure your beneficiary designations are up to date, and empower yourself to take full control of your finances, even from the grave or even from a place of being incapacitated. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you found it valuable, please give this video a like. It helps push this video to other people that may find it valuable. And also, please don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. Thank you so much for tuning in, and take care. I'll see you soon.